every marriage has a chance because, as Kimberly would say, as we always write, because there's always hope. There's always hope, no matter the situation, no matter the crisis. Everyone believes that their situation is different. And you probably see this when helping businesses and their finances. Everyone thinks they have a unique story. They have a unique background that got them there. But at the end of the day, based on the data and the research, they all fall into kind of the same buckets. So there's no situation that surprises the team. But this team, I'm blessed to work with a team like this who we're both missionally we're missionally focused, but we're also business focused because we can't serve the entire mission without having a business to operate. It's not as possible at our scale.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? And welcome back to season 2 of Legacy's Journey, $1 Million Agencies, where we focus on just leaving and creating a legacy for the people that's important to you. I'm your host, Cameron Williams, owner of Kinley Consulting, where we focus on strategic financial growth for your marketing agency. And we do that through CFO and consulting services. Now, this is season 2. Told y'all we're going to come with it. We're going to bring the heat. So I had to go to my people. You know, we had great guests in season 1. And it's no secret. One of my favorite guests, everybody knows this, was Kimberly Holmes from Marriage Helper. So just in case y'all didn't know, I already told Kim, I said, look, Kimberly, every single season you're coming back. So she was like, all right, cool. So then I said, okay, let's bring you back. And she said, you know what? I can do you one better. I'll come back. But why don't you talk to my head of marketing over the whole entire company and get his perspective? Because it'll be completely different than mine and what I do. I thought it was brilliant. We all know Kimberly is brilliant. So here we are. We have Phil Stewart, the head over the whole entire Marriage Helper business. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, Kimberly is awesome. We're friends outside the work. That's how I got connected. But you got to hear her at an event last year, and she's a great speaker. She's a great boss. She's a great friend. And I wouldn't be in this seat if not for her guidance, her counseling, her coaching, but also just that friendship we have. So happy to be here. This mission is too great for us not to talk about it. And I'm happy to tell your listeners more about it. Season 2, that's phenomenal. Most people don't stick it out that long. So keep going.
And apparently, like, that's a thing. They're like, oh, if you make it to 10 episodes, that's like 80% of people quit. And if you make it to 20, I'm like, really? So
yeah, it's crazy like that. We've been producing content. I mean, Dr. Joe, Kimberly's father, has been producing radio shows and content for over 20 years. It's changed over the days, but we publish regular content as well. And just that grind to do it, it's become natural for us though. And so the more you do it, the better you get at it, the more natural you are. So congrats on season 2. I can't wait to talk to your listeners about what we can do and what we've learned.
All right. So starting there. Now, quick caveat, y'all, I got this, what they call these things, medicine balls from Starbucks. Because unfortunately, my almost 2-year-old tried to give me his flu. So I sound a little off. And, just like normal, especially when you got a little ADHD, I forgot to eat earlier. So this first half, Phil is finna just bless y'all while I chow this food down so that I myself can be the best interviewer possible. So with that being said, now, Phil is over all the marketing. So for those who don't know or are unaware, tell them just a super brief synopsis of what is Marriage Helper, the mission, what you guys are trying to do. And then we'll start getting into like the branding aspect and all of those pieces.
Absolutely. So Marriage Helper itself has been around for about 11 years now. But it goes even farther back than that. Actually, our workshop has been around for over 25 years. So let's start there because we're in marketing. Let's tell the story of that. Dr. Joe Beam, he wasn't a doctor at the time, was a pastor down in Alabama. And he was counseling a young lady and ended up getting caught in an affair with her. He had 2 daughters at the time. And through divorce, through all of that, ended up remarrying his wife after 3 years. And Kimberly, who's been on this podcast before, is their 3rd child, their reconciliation child. So Dr. Joe and his wife, Alice, devoted their lives to helping couples who have been affected by affairs, who have been affected by crisis, not fall into the same mistakes. Now, Dr. Joe has done a lot of work, but so has Alice.
Wait a minute. I didn't even.
Yeah. So when I tell our story, I can't not tell Kimberly's story. It's hers completely. It's Dr. Joe's completely, and we go into more detail in our content on it. But that is our story. We are a company who is not only teaching this and researching this stuff, but most of us have lived it. About 50 to 80% of our team, depending on the time, have actually been prior clients of ours. Thankfully, I have not. I actually didn't know this company existed until 2 years ago. We're one of those companies that if you don't need us, you might not know about us. But the joy about knowing us now, even if you don't feel like you need us, we help clients in all types of situations. About 70% of our clients have been affected by an affair. So that's been either they had the affair, which is a very interesting, they've had the affair, they want to repent, but their spouse maybe have wanted to save the marriage earlier, but kind of wants out. We've seen couples get divorced and be divorced for over 10 years and still reconcile and get remarried. But even if if you're divorced and you don't want to get remarried, what we teach can also help you be better parents. So what we teach, our mission is to support, save, and strengthen marriages to last a lifetime. You talk about the title of this is legacy. How important is it what legacy you leave in the life you have here on this earth? That you leave for your children, for your coworkers, if you run a business, for your employees. How important is it that they see that in every relationship, you're leaving something behind, making important every moment you have. So why is this important to me? Right. I told, 80% of our team have been clients, but I'm sure for all your listeners, including yourself, maybe at least one couple that's been divorced. Typically what we see is if
big facts,
right. In my family alone, I have two of my uncles on my mom's side, one of my uncles on my dad's side, two of my cousins have been divorced, and the one got remarried. I'm not going to name names just in case my name comes up in family searches, but that's just my family. That's just my family alone. So there's 5 to 6 families that have been affected by divorce. Some have had kids,
really real. Yeah,
and some have not. But it's a very real issue. And the data from the Institute of Family Studies, who we're friends with and study them ourselves, how important is it that a stable household is there for both not only the safety of communities, but the safety of the economics of the culture? So we're getting into the business side, but not really my why. So my why, I've been blessed to be married for 12 and a half years now. We have a daughter who's 4. I met my wife in college. So while we have not experienced a crisis, we've had our crisis moments. My wife was born with half a heart. She has hypoplastic left heart syndrome with total situs inversus. It's a lot of technical terms. I just repeat it because I can't say it on the other. She has half a heart. She has a pacemaker. She couldn't have kids. During our time since we've been married, she got a pacemaker put in. Actually, not this month, but next, she actually will have it replaced. It's a little quarter-sized device. They're phenomenal. I forget how much goes into a medical life. But if we weren't secure in our marriage, there was a moment like, I still have that fear. Like, what if she's not here? What would happen? Now we have a daughter. We adopted her. We were there the day she was born. We were in the hospital in Florida, and she is 100% our daughter. You talk about getting sick from your kids. Like, at the time we're recording this, we had 6 inches in Nashville of snow, and my kid has been loving life outside of this morning where she's like, Daddy, I miss school. I miss my friends. Absolutely. But what legacy am I leaving behind for her? What does she see when Lindsay and I talk about our marriage together? What does she see? 2 parents, 2 people that love each other, that regardless of any crisis or any issue, still, while we might agree, we're in alignment 100%. And that's not only important in my marriage, but on my team. And in order to do what we do, we're on a mission to save 1 million marriages. Like, we have to, 1 million. That is our goal. Now, we're not, 1 million. So we're talking 7 figures worth of marriages we want to save. And we have a timeline on that. We want to do it in 5 to 10 years. But we can't do that. If this company was just Kimberly and her father, they could make a big impact. They're great personalities. They're great people. They're not the detail people, though. And when you run a business, you have to have both your entrepreneur and your operator. I fall into the operator side of the business a little bit. So I'm the detail guy. I question a lot of things. I question some decisions, but we have to rely on our team because we've been able to make an impact. We have team members that are not only on our staff, but we've had people who want to volunteer to help in our online communities. Like, don't pay me. They know our content more than I do. And I'm the one hitting with my team, recording it here in our studio. And it's
Right.
phenomenal to hear their stories and how the content and how they found us has made such an impact. And that's my why. Every day I have Slack set up. Most companies have been using it, right? I used to be a marketing technologist for a company in Franklin where I learned how to do a lot of the internet marketing stuff. I was at a tractor dealership before that. And every name that comes through our Slack channel that either they came through coaching or they joined our membership, or even if they signed up for a call with our intake team, every name matters to me because every name could be another marriage saved and should be.
Right.
Every marriage has a chance because, as Kimberly would say, as we always write, because there's always hope. There's always hope, no matter the situation, no matter the crisis. Everyone believes that their situation is different. And you probably see this when helping businesses and their finances. Everyone thinks they have a unique story. They have a
Right.
unique background that got them there. But at the end of the day, based on the data and the research, they all fall into kind of the same buckets. So there's no situation that surprises the team. But this team, I'm blessed to work with a team like this who we're both missionally we're missionally focused, but we're also business focused because we can't serve the entire mission without having a business to operate. It's not as possible at our scale.
Okay. See, I told y'all when we get marriage helper on here, the gym is here we go. See, this how Kimberly got me saying all this good stuff, and I had to keep pausing because she was whooping me. She was slapping my face. All right, Phil just said a whole lot right there. Being mission focused, growing the company, having such a good brand and presence that the people they've helped have now come on to the team. So let's start there. Because now, again, Phil is over all marketing. So now there's so many different ways we can go with this. All right, let's start with branding.
Yeah.
Because you said that there are people on your team that went through our program, got that help, and then wanted to come on and just serve. So I guess to start, how do you ensure the branding of something so, I don't know if you want to say secretive, but most people aren't just coming out the gate, yeah, I'm divorced, or yeah, I'm having marriage problems. So how do you create the right type of branding to deal with something sensitive like that, to where people find you, A, and then B, say, yes, please come help me. They are willingly giving you their money if we're talking pure marketing terms.
Absolutely. So, from just a very quick play, if you're not putting out something to help somebody else, your competitor is. That if they don't even know your name, obscurity is the number one issue every company has, especially when they start. No one knows who you are. I didn't know who we were until 2 years ago. So if I don't even know who we are, how can I help? So
Mm.
traditionally, the type of content we put out is YouTube or podcast based. Um, the pure numbers is most of our quality leads, and I'm going to get kind of technical in the marketing term. So
Hey,
our
this is the
higher
marketing podcast. They
let's
gonna
yeah
kill you.
let's go because I can nerd out about some marketing. So our while we do stuff in Meta and Facebook and Instagram, Google search is our number one avenue. And
Makes
along
sense.
with that, YouTube. People are finding us late at night. Our highest hours of traffic are between 8 p.m. and 2 a.m. Central Standard Time because
Which makes sense for
kids
me
are in
too.
bed.
Yeah.
Uh, all the work is done for the day. If they're separated, we can go through some of the data on that. I've heard stories. There's a story from Jared on our team. He found us because he was searching for divorce lawyers. Now, I'll get to the
Oh.
divorce industry. Yeah, they're not my friend. That's fine. I don't need friends in that space. I do, but I don't. We have to put out content. We were at TNC last week, and my video guy Jason, phenomenal guy, love him to death. He came out. He's like, we have to make content that people want to watch and need to watch, not what we want to make. So
Okay.
we
That's
are
marketing
research
101 to some people, right?
absolutely marketing 101, right? If you have an idea like I need to get this out into the market, cool. Is that actually what people need? Now, in order to make sure that you're studying your passion, you're doing what you want, yeah, you have to do a little bit about what you want to do. But is there a way you can position it like, say I was in this space? I know I need to talk to people who've been affected by affairs. I know that they need to hear some things we have to say, and they may not like it, and that's okay. We
Fact.
we're not friends with everyone. Some of our most popular videos are pretty controversial.
Okay.
Hence, why do men cheat and why do women cheat? Those titles alone Yes, those titles alone are very, they can be subjective to some. However, we have research on why, men and women are different and why they teach, and they're different psychologies to that. Kimberly is getting her PhD in psychology, has her master's in psychology, and we can dive into like the chemical nature of that. However, they're not going to search for why do I cheat. They're not going to do that. They're typically
Correct.
going to search for why does my husband cheat, or why did my wife cheat, or why it would cause me to cheat. Google is such an amazing platform for, you know, starting next month, they're going to cut off some email information. They're taking away some cookie data. Sure, fine. SEO is the long term play. And that's something we've messed up in the past. However, we do it through YouTube. I just learned today, actually
Wait, pause,
interviewing.
pause, pause. See, dang it, he's good.
I've
SEO is the long term play. I want to make sure they heard that because a lot of people think, oh, SEO is not important, or it's, oh, you have to wait 3 to 6 months, therefore it's not working. I want immediate ROI, so let me boost a Facebook post. The marketing director of a multi-million dollar company is telling you SEO is important. Continue.
Absolutely. So, along with that, we understand that we are a premium service. We're a service provider. We are a high ticket coaching program. If you were to really boil this down to what we do, but in order for us to get people to trust us, we need to be publishing content that they need to see and want to see. We have to say the hard things. One of our core values is unshakable truth and courageous compassion. I have to be compassionate enough about our leads and our prospect situations to just tell them the truth, whether that's the truth about their situation to get out of their own way, or be so compassionate about them to just say the hard things that they might not want to hear, right? If I'm going through a crisis, what we talk about, like, I typically, people in crisis tend to fall into like, what are my friends saying? Who else around me has gotten divorced before? What is my family saying? Family and friends love you, absolutely love you. And maybe you feel this in like people speaking into your business, friends, family and friends. But at the end of the day, they want to protect you. So they're actually some of the worst people to listen to because they want to protect you. They might give you bad advice. Well, what about, say, Dave, my friend, also got a divorce? He told me all about it, blah, blah, blah. Dave's situation is different than yours. Dave's history is different than yours, right? He didn't grow up like you did. Wasn't influenced by the same things. Yes, you might have friends go through the same situations as you. It doesn't mean they understand you. We may not fully understand you, right? And that's totally okay. But we have helped thousands of couples before that we've probably heard something similar, and we have the data to back up why it works. So when it comes to the content side, we're taking our research, what we know works, and giving nuggets of information. We're really just dripping information. The more you hear about us, the more you see us. We've only just reignited our passion to publish a ton of short-term content. If you go to Marriage Helper, we published a little bit. You'll see this on Kimberly's Instagram as well. We produce her podcast as well. And if we're not getting that content out there, no one's going to know we exist. No one's going to be able to find us. But on the SEO play, say you're running a local business, you're fighting against other service providers. We're fighting against other counselors. We're fighting against divorce lawyers. Divorce is a $12.6 billion a year industry in 2023, and it grew by 1.6%. That's sad to me. Talk about my why. I love people. I think if people like, if you get a divorce, I'm not going to judge you. No, 100%. Like, we don't judge that.
Right,
That is
right,
your
right.
decision. But if we could have stopped it, what would that mean? If we
That
could have
means some little
prevented it,
kid like Cameron wouldn't have had to go through some stuff because you could have stayed together.
I meant to ask you, Cameron, are your parents together or were they divorced?
So it is so funny you ask because I don't think anybody's asked this question. Super short story. So my parents are literally born same year, same month. They're 5 days apart. Grew up on the same exact side of town. Went to like not rival high schools, but schools in the same area. Both as freshmen go to Georgia State. Weird. I don't know how this works. And they both drop out freshman year because guess who got pregnant and guess who came out when the parents was 19. So my parents are super young in relation to my age, but they never got together. Oh, well, let me rephrase that. They were together as in we were dating, but they never got married. So I grew up, my mom got married to my stepdad, which that's a whole different story. And then, of course, my dad, he's married now. This is his second time. So when you started talking about that family piece of like who's successfully stayed and who didn't make it, he's on time number 2, but I think he's gonna keep this one. They've been together for over, is it 10 years now? No, gotta be 13. She's great. She fits right in. But there were so many conflicts because to your point, it's like, okay, this guy's not my dad, but he's here all the time. And then him and my dad, they couldn't really coexist. They always butted heads. Then my stepdad's telling me negative stuff about my dad. And then, of course, so it was this whole crazy thing. And I'm not going to lie, especially once I became out on my own at 18, I was like, man, what would have happened had they stayed together? Had they, I don't even know if there were any issues or like bad differences. I just think they didn't get together. And then that's when my stepdad came in. So, you always think, like you said, like, dang, what would have happened had y'all made it? Like, what would my life have looked like? Would I even be doing this or like this or have met like my wife or whatever that looks like? And then on both of our sides, I think outside of me and my wife, we've been married for 10 years now. My mom and my stepdad have been together for like over 25, I think. And my cousin, who's probably about 8-ish years older, so that's 3. And then my granddad and grandma, who just passed last year, everybody else has been divorced or never
Wow.
married but had kids. So I know to us in our house, like this is a super major focus of like being intentional, how to keep fanning the flame, how to connect, etc. So that's why me and Kimberly, I was like, yep, I appreciate
And
it.
the reason I ask is what the data tells us and the research tells us is that if a child's parents have been divorced, they have a higher likelihood to get divorced themselves. Now, you're in a very different situation, but the data still applies. You've made it past the 7-year mark, and I'm going to touch on that in a second, which is phenomenal, right? Past the 7-year mark, which is more. And unfortunately, because we fight a battle of the divorce industry, it's easy to get a divorce. It's so easy to get a divorce because
Which I
we
think
now
is
have.
crap, by the way. I feel like they make it so easy, but like make the people work it out. Like keep going. I'm sorry.
You're good. It is easy, and now we have no fault states. People who can now get a divorce without the other party even being involved. We had a lawyer, so we do a workshops, and we see a lot of different people, right? We see people who've been married for 5, 6 years, all the way up to 50 years. We had a person in the workshop. His wife signed up for the workshop. He was there. He's a litigation lawyer. I don't know all what that means. I'm not in the legal space, nor do I give legal advice. He told our facilitator, and I was happened to be standing there. I try to our workshop building's right next door to our office, so I try to invite everyone in. It's such a wonderful time to see couples together, like going through this crisis. He told us that they have a divorce part of their business, but he won't get it. He won't work in it because there's too much money. Now, as a marketer, so I hear stories all day long. I hear stories from that. Now I can use that. How angry does that make you feel when you hear divorce lawyers are making too much money? Well, now I don't want to get divorced. I don't want to give you my money. Yes, we are a premium product. There are other people who may charge you $99 to give you like the one thing you can say to bring your spouse back. I'm sorry, that's a bunch of crap.
Crap.
That's
Because if
complete
yeah,
crap,
yeah,
right? We have the research and the data to show smart communication, smart contact is really the way to go. And even if one spouse wants out, there are things you need to do and things you need to own up to that you may not want to own up to, right? So we're dealing with we're dealing with an ideal client persona that like my spouse messed up or maybe I messed up. And so all we need to do is fix the one thing and then the marriage will go back to what it is. If you're going through a marriage crisis, fixing one thing is not going to, you don't want the marriage to go back to what it was, because what it was created the problem.
yeah, it wasn't working.
So how do we get past that? So as marketers, we have to think, what are people thinking? How are they thinking? And when are they thinking it? We're recording this on January 17th, a week and a half ago. It hasn't been recorded how many were filed. I've meant to look that up. But January 8th, the first Monday of every year, is what is called in the industry Divorce Day. The number one day
Divorce
for
day.
divorce day, the number one day of divorce filings in the US. It's the first working Monday of every year. So we see in the data January and about October are the two top months of divorces. So our ad spend goes up, people competing. I've had nothing but divorce ads on my Facebook feed all December. You can get a divorce easy. I put out something, a reel on it or a story because it upsets me. It upsets me that I see our people being like who we need to help being targeted by lawyers who just want to make it easy. They just want to make it easy. And unfortunately, going the easy route is not always the best one. So in the search play, we have to fight against search terms that, you know, companies like BetterHelp rank for, or companies like Focus on the Family rank for, and even local divorce lawyers rank for, top divorce firms in the US.
Ooh,
We have,
okay, okay. You're going into rankings now.
yes.
Okay, let's go. Here you go, marketing
So
people. This is your
I'm
part right here.
I'm going to caveat. I am currently hiring for an SEO specialist. That job is probably not open by the time this releases. So sorry if you really want to work here. If you do want to help us, we're always open to have a conversation. SEO is not my strong suit. My strong suit is in funnels and data. But so I've learned a lot recently. If you really want to learn SEO, especially local SEO, do you know who Travis Weathers is, Cameron?
Yeah, Travis, that's my guy right there.
Like, let's go. Like, Rotate Digital. He and I chat every now. Kimberly's actually in a meeting with him, I think. So love him. So when you talk local SEO, like there is definitely there's people better in this space. But when we talk about rankings, now we rank for certain terms that most of your listeners would never think to search. They wouldn't search them until they learned us. Now, our top keywords are actually our brand keywords. We want to be the top one in the space for marriage help, marriage helper. Do we always get it right? No, but we have to keep publishing content. I just learned today and something that blew my mind. When you publish content on YouTube and in the description, it includes links back to your blog and your site, that's technically a backlink. I always thought backlinks had to be written by somebody else. No. If you publish content on another platform, if you publish it in a podcast like on Apple or Spotify or wherever you publish content on YouTube, on social media, that's technically considered a backlink by Google. So the keywords that we need to rank for, we just publish more content around those keywords as long as we know that's what people are searching. So we use tools like Google Search Console, SEM Rush, Google Analytics, GA. I'm still learning GA4. I'm a Universal Analytics fan myself. That's what I was certified in. But you have to, what are people actually finding you for? Google Search Console and then Google's trends. Google search trends are massive because in Google search trends, you can not only do Google search, but you can also drop it down to see what people are searching in video format. So if you want to get into YouTube, if you're like, I just got to publish content. We have 272,000 subscribers right now, somewhere around there on YouTube, all grown organically because people are searching for what we have to offer. Now, do we still get the trolls? Do we still get people who argue against us? Yeah, every day. Everyone's dealing with negative comments. They don't believe us. That's fine. We have all the claims to back it up, and we will absolutely do that. But we're going to still create content that people might not want to hear, but they're searching for. For instance, there's a couple that is on our team now. They're part of our coaching team. It's hard for me not to get emotional when talking about these stories. So
This is your
bear with
episode.
me.
So if you want to cry, you want to shed a tear,
It'll happen.
Support, all right.
So this couple was with the team before I was, but their story is still fantastic. So Ren, and this story is all public on our YouTube channel. Yeah, all public on the YouTube channel. I have to mentally check it. Ren is still a musician, fantastic musician in South Africa, but he was living the musician's life. They've got a couple girls. So Adele was stuck at home. Her Google search, our number one Google search, can one spouse save a marriage? And her response, what she found, can one spouse save a marriage? And her response to what she found was, I found the answer I didn't want to hear.
And I'm guessing it's no.
The answer is yes, actually.
Oh.
So interesting. So yeah, you could argue that it takes two to save. You've heard the term, maybe the road goes both ways, right?
Yeah.
The way we teach it is it can take one spouse changing to ultimately save the marriage, but reconciliation, that true process of reigniting intimacy and passion, rebuilding trust, creating a dream life together, that all takes a reconciliation and actually learning to forgive, not only forgive your spouse, but to forgive yourself. So when we look at our client's journey, we have to create content for each stage of the journey. Sometimes people reach us and they've Um, the fantastic Ryan Dice. Fantastic Ryan Dice. I love him to death. He said from stage once that your ideal client is actually stalking you for probably 6 months before they sign up.
That is
We
fact.
we know we have more subscribers on YouTube than email addresses in HubSpot. And it's a pain that I deal with, especially as we look to what traffic we can control. I can't
Right.
control Google and YouTube. They change all the time, but we got to learn to play the game. Got to learn to play the game. But we don't know where we're hitting people. So we have to put out content that's more along the lines of somebody who just found out about divorce. Like, just found out, what do I do? We have to put out content. Our top video is, they told me I love you, but I'm not in love with you. That's a big one. A lot of people say that. Yeah. So my spouse came home and told me I love you, but I'm not in love with you. Just, Cameron, think about, like, if your wife came home today and that's what she said, how
I'm
would
not
that make you
doing it.
feel?
No,
Yeah, don't do it.
I'm
I
done.
used
Cutting
I
it
used to
down. We need
joke.
talk right now.
Yeah. The rule in our house is the word divorce doesn't get used personally. Like, I have to talk
Same.
about divorce at home, but
Right.
the D word, divorce, being
Yes.
clear what that word is, does not get used in an argument. That's a cheap shot, in my opinion. Now, I'm not the
I
researcher or the
agree.
counselor or teacher, but what we found is, on the marketing side, we have to hit people right when they found out. So in that moment of clarity, actually before that, number one thing, so there's 7 steps to rescue your marriage. Number one is to calm down. It sounds so dumb, but it's true. We take very complex psychological and sociological, terms and resources and make them palatable for most people. So if you're getting into a space and you're like, man, I can nerd out about this, not everybody who needs to work with you is going to nerd out like you. Like, I can nerd out about funnels all day long, but I'm going to lose some people when I talk about CAC or CPA or CVR or opt-in rates versus page conversion. So when we're talking to our clients at Marriage Helper, we have to teach them how to calm down. That's where Kimberly's teachings really come in psychology, or her podcast that starts with attraction, towards mindfulness training and journaling, and if you're spiritual, prayer and relaxation, really learning to calm yourself down, not listen to those outside voices like I talked about earlier, not listening to those friends and family members who are like, get rid of them, they're not good for you. That's not always the case. For us, the client is the marriage. So we're going to say some hard things. So number one is to calm down. Number two is to get clarity. The best story I have for getting clarity is one of our volunteers out in California. I'm going to stave his name, but his wife ended up in an affair with another woman, and he started getting really upset. His wife sent him a text from another conference that said, "How do you know you're in a controlling relationship?" And she circled almost everything on that card because of him. So he had to learn, he had to get clarity on the fact that he did things that pushed her away. So we talk about this push-pull concept. Kimberly's probably taught on it before. But what
She
negative...
did go over that on the first one. Pushing and pull. Yep.
Yes. So we have to talk like that. How are people going to search those terms? So how did I push my spouse away? Or why did they run off with that other person? Well, we have to say that courageous compassion of what we do is we have to call them out. You might be somewhat at fault, and that's a really hard thing to hear. But until you get clarity on the situation, you don't know what to work on to move forward. You don't know how to move forward. If, say, we're running a business and we find this new idea, but we don't know that 10 years ago it was tried before and it failed and actually hurt the business, well, that's not clarity. That's not looking at history. That's not looking at data. So being data driven, both in our business, but in our relationships, to understand, like, oh, okay, not only that, for instance, in my life, what influences did I have growing up that may influence how I react or respond that may be a push to my wife based on her experiences. So her experiences, like, we have 2 different households. My household, I've moved 13 to 14 times in my life. My dad was in the military, but then he went into the consulting world. My wife grew up in the same town her whole life. We lived there for 10 years when we first got married. Like, she knew everybody in town. I had to change friends every few years. So I'm an extrovert. I'm an introverted extrovert in the sense of I have to make new friends fast. I'm super trusting really off the bat. My wife takes time, and that's okay. So it's very interesting. I'm super trusting
I would
because
think she should be the opposite because she's been with the same people. So anybody new gonna take a long time, and then that's
yeah. Well, we just moved to town about 3 years ago. I moved here for another role before Kimberly
Snatched you
convinced
up.
me convinced me to come over. It took a couple months, but that's a different story. Um, but it still takes her time to trust people because she got so used to that safety net. She got so used to
Um,
that safety net, right? I didn't grow up in small town. Now, I lived there for 10 years. I worked for a tractor dealership. I got used to small town, right? By the time we left, I knew more people in town than she did, but that was mostly my job and who I worked with, and I got to know people. I love people. It's also one of my whys why I'm here is I love people. Like this, there's a reason we do what we do. This mission is so great. Doesn't like the hell or high water, we're going to fight for it. So when we look at the get clarity, like when her and I have an argument, well, or say you have a disagreement with a client, or it doesn't matter the relationship. One, are you listening? Are you actually listening to them? How are you responding in a kind way? But you do understand why you're responding because of your past, how you've had other conversations. How I respond to Kimberly, good example is I don't respond well with Kimberly either. I'll be open and
what?
honest with that. Yeah, shocked, right? Because we come from two different backgrounds. Her family, being in the research and development personal space, are very much like go get help, like go get counseling. My family, no, you bottle that stuff up. You don't talk about it.
You know, when you put it
Um,
like that, because Kimberly will be like, Cameron, it's okay, but we have to realize we can do better. And I'm like, you're
yeah,
right.
and
Kimberly, you're
every day she asks a challenging question, and some days I get defensive. But at the end of the day, I can't get defensive because, or on anybody with the team, most unless there's a performance issue, because everyone is here is dedicated to this mission. So we have an open door virtual policy here. Even though I'm in the seat of marketing, doesn't mean I have all the ideas. Absolutely not. I definitely don't. And you have to recognize that you might not be the smartest person in the room, but every idea should be discerned, right? We have a space, we've created a culture where ideas can be shared no matter how stupid they sound, no matter because what our sales team hears on a call is what we need to talk about. So last week, I asked the sales team, what are the top pain points people are talking to you on the phone? I don't have that feedback loop as much as they do. They're on the phone every day, 5 to 8 calls a day. So they told me, here's the pain points. Okay, cool. Now I can take that data and it falls right into the bucket of get calm, get clarity. And the third one is stop pushes and start pulls. So what actions do I take that negatively influence the action of others? And what actions and things do I say that positively impact how they pull back to me? Think of magnet, right? Am I pushing or am I pulling? Step 4 is really forgiveness and reconciliation. Am I willing to forgive them if I feel like their actions did me wrong? So in
wait,
Ryan's story,
pause, wait, Phil, you lighten us up. Hold on. Okay. We're gonna pause because I know y'all is caught up in it because I just had to remind myself you gotta keep the people with you. Okay, let me catch y'all up because he dropping them so easy, like it's just like just
it's easy because I talk about it all day long. For instance, uh, we bought a building. I had a security company come by. Then he started asking us what we do, and that went into a 15-minute conversation about how we could help him and help his church. So I love talking about this. So where do you want me to go back to?
okay. Now, and see, I'm taking my notes. I got my notes. All right, because we're gonna start off with the applause right here because Phil is killing it. All right, Phil said I can't even say what he said. I'm gonna just summarize it because it's you low key just need to just go back here, rewind, and play this like 2, 3 times. But I think one of the key things you said from the marketing perspective, and guys, if you're listening to what he's telling you, it's very applicable to marketing. He's just putting it in terms of what they do. So one of the things he said is you have to know the keywords and phrases of your client's needs and wants, and no, that's one. So like he said, certain things like you said like I love you but I'm not in love with you. That is what a client would say. That's what they would type. So what is he spending his marketing dollars and ads on? That part so that he can rank higher. So one of the things you have to make sure you're paying attention to is where does your client look for you? Notice he said, yeah, we do some Meta and Instagram, but we know it's Google and YouTube. Those are the two biggest ones. So I think from a marketing perspective to continue, remember now, multi-million dollar company. And you only get there by being very good and locked in on what you do. I think another thing to point out, you can tell by the passion in which he's saying it and the energy in his voice. And if you're watching this on the video side, like you can see the emotion. Not only does he know this product inside and out, but he believes in what he's doing. Like, I know if I market this right, that means we get to go help X amount of people. So I think that that's super important. And then he just talked about this open door policy, how, hey, yeah, we're marketing, but I need to be talking to my sales team. I need to see, like, what are you hearing when you get on these calls? Are they saying they found us in certain places, or that they understood, or I watched this one particular video? Because maybe I can go back and refurbish that or turn it into some separate content. So as agency owners, guys, pay attention to this. This is the whole reason why we up this for season 2 and are focusing on mainly companies that are already hitting $1 million. Not, hey, I just had my first 6-figure year. Shout out to those people. We love y'all. We appreciate y'all. Keep focusing, keep working hard, because you're going to get there. But we wanted to go get the people who are already doing it at a higher level and show you this is their framework. This is what they're doing. This is how they're approaching things. This is the perspective that they're attacking things with, that got them where they are. Now, I just had to catch y'all up there because he dropping so many. I ain't want y'all to get lost in the sauce, as we say here in Atlanta. Don't get lost in the sauce. All right, Phil, you back at it. I'm going back on mute because I'm
Speaking
just.
my language, brother. I was born outside Fort Benning, so you're speaking my language. I might have been born in the South, but I was raised everywhere else. So you're speaking my language. I appreciate you slowing me down. Like, hopefully you see this when you watch Kimberly's episode or mine. We're passionate about what we do because we love what we do, right? Sure, money is money. Like, we have to be able to grow financially, but because we also want to build a team. So let's talk about the other aspect of this marketing is I'm getting feedback loop from I keep looking this way because there's a salesman out there and he is hilariously awesome at calling people to, take action. So as marketers, we also can't be afraid to go for the ask.
Yeah,
We
because, okay, that's good. Because in my head, all right, you got your keywords. They found this 15-minute video on, because I've seen like one or two where it's either Kimberly's dad or Kimberly, they get up there, do their thing, and they express whatever. Now, I've seen the video. Ooh, should I reach out? Now, how are you approaching that? Because, of course, content is first, get your attention. So we did that. Did we maybe solve a problem? I at least have made you aware that there may be one or a solution. Now, your next step as the director and the CMO is what?
So my first step is actually start at the back, right? You start at the top thing. So you said that I love and I know our product, and that's because I've gone to the workshop myself and I study the materials around it. Dr. Joe and Kimberly are also sending me articles about the content, about the research. We are research based. We're still doing research. If you're not doing research of your current clients, you're missing out on so much data that is there. One of the things we ask, our sales team's asking on the phone, all of our sales calls are recorded, all of our coaching sessions, all of like the group coaching sessions are recorded, every webinar. So I know exactly the questions people want to know the answers to. I know and one question we ask is, where did you find us? A lot of them say YouTube or podcast. They are telling us that they found us on Google, YouTube, or podcast. What I then, as I take that data input, which could be false, so we're going to take that for what it is. That's human input, and then cross-referencing it with Google Analytics and say, are they actually coming from here? Now, because we're on a platform like YouTube, sometimes it's a little hard to know which piece of content they came from. It could be from the video that only has 1,000 views, but that video is still powerful for that person. We had to put it out. Or it could be from the video that has 1 million views. And how we do that is by tracking. Now, UTMs are great for that. They're not perfect. 100% not perfect. They break all the time, especially as we look at how Google Chrome is changing to take away cookies and take away tracking. But we have to use multiple points of data. Now, is it perfect? I had a mentor, Dane. He runs the marketing for Taylor Welch, the wealthy consultant. He once coached me, and I worked for him for a season. I have to be able to make a decision with about 70% of the data, and I got to be confident
Oh,
in it. Yeah, use that nugget.
I don't
You're
like that
not
as a CFO. I don't like that because I
okay.
need all the
As a
data.
marketer, yes. As a CFO, you want all the pennies to be counted,
Oh, okay.
100%.
Because I was
Right.
like, what?
But as a marketer, because the data, and especially because the technology and the data and how we track things can change so quickly, sometimes I have to make a gut call. Sometimes I have to test and make a gut call based on about 50 to 70% of the data. Is it because sometimes the data is not clean?
Mm,
Sometimes the data is not clean. Unfortunately, you probably know this going through people's books, how people
that's
track their expenses over time. Reminds
that's
me, I got to
true.
put all my receipts in for an event I just went to.
Please do it.
Yeah, I will. My accounting company will love me for it, and I
There
kept
you
really
go.
good
There you
receipts.
go.
I wrote down who was there, how many was there. Yeah, I keep receipts. Everything's tracked. I try to keep as much data as possible, especially when it comes to finances, because one, being in a seat, because I'm not the owner operator. I'm an operator in an owned company, and it is my job. My number one job as a marketer and actually as a member of this team is to protect the brand and protect
There
what we
you go.
have and protect the assets. So the assets are our intellectual properties, but also Dr. Joe and Kimberly's interests in helping people. If we're not protecting that, we can't serve the next client. So I'm taking data inputs from my sales team, but also my customer success team. We, to go into true marketing terms, we have a very unique clientele in the fact of average open rate on emails, mass emails that get sent are about 35%, on the high end. And we're probably going to see those numbers drop based on how Google changes. Click rates around 1%. What do you think response rate is typically? Traditionally,
Honey?
in the internet marketing space, we see a sub 1%.
Oh,
Sub 1% response rate on mass marketing emails. I write for Kimberly. So if you join our list and you're an MH junkie, you're going to get what I call an MH minion. We're a marriage helper minion. I write a lot of Kimberly's mass marketing emails. We have to write in her voice. It took me time to learn how to write in that voice. Um, but I typically pull from her stories that she usually tells me every week. They're fun. I love doing that. I love pulling a life experience she had, like, oh, she just flew to Phoenix today and what the travel experience was like and how that relates to how we help clients. That being said, something I learned in my first month working here is I can send an email. If you want a true tactic of the day, it's a 10-word email. Say you're putting on an event, you're putting on a webinar, or you're putting on a free training, simply emailing out your list, first name, what are you doing tomorrow at 10 o'clock? With a hyperlink being tomorrow at 10 o'clock. It's my number one email for webinar signups. But because of my clientele, the way we talk about it, and please know I love my clients, but they are very smart people who sometimes forget to do stuff because they're in a crisis. Mentally, their chemicals in their brain are just not firing. We've had several clients forget to pick up their kids from school. So I can't expect them to know all the technology. I have to walk their hand through it sometimes. But those 10-word emails, the first time I sent it, I think I had over 100 responses on like 10,000 cents. Like 100 people replying to the email thinking it was Kimberly. Oh, I'm actually busy that day. Why? Why do you ask? Because they didn't see the hyperlink or the button I put. So even when you think you're getting the marketing right, sometimes the people you're wanting to serve don't even see what you're asking for. So you're asked, how do we go for the ask? It goes with just building trust. That's why we publish weekly content on our YouTube channel. We post 1 to 2 videos a week with weekly podcasts because we want to make sure that people are getting resources. Not everyone's going to be able to afford to work with us. We have clients in South Africa and the exchange rate from their currency to ours is like 100 to 1. $100 here is 10,000 there in just a general sense, right? In order for them to, it's not that much. It's a different, I don't ask me exchange rates. We have people that work there and we constantly talk about how our prices are astronomical for people in the space, but we have to be able to reach people where they're at. So if it's creating free content just to let people have free content, they can take it on their own and actually study the thousands of hours of free content we put out there to try to save it themselves. The call to action is, but if you want results now, right? If you know you need to take action now, talk to us. Sign up for this free training on the 7 steps to rescue your marriage, where Kimberly will walk you through the first 3 steps that I just talked about in order to calm down, get clarity, and stop pushes and start pulls. From there, we can get you in either our digital membership or in our workshop. Our workshop's what has the data. And in the content, we just constantly talk about the workshop. We constantly talk about the success stories. So are you asking your clients for the feedback so you know where they came from? but are you also asking how it went for you? We just recently signed up for Trustpilot, and that's actually been a wonderful nugget of like verified responses. Yeah, we have a 1 star. We got a couple 3 stars. We're not perfect. We claim to have a 70% success rate, not 100. So we know that some people aren't going to be happy.
I just want to say 70% is really good though. So
Oh, it's phenomenal.
especially when you thought you were about to be divorced, so there was a 0%. Just saying, keep going.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we can't be 100% because humans are humans, right? We live in an imperfect world, and humans are going to make choices that even as marketers, you're thinking, why would you click on that? Why would you do that? We think we create such amazing content and such an amazing funnel, and people still don't take the action. Maybe they didn't know how to. Maybe they're so caught up, especially in ours, maybe they got distracted. That happens a lot. People abandon the funnel halfway through. So email follow-up. We have to constantly hit them in their inbox and tell them, hey, this is the next action based on your responses, your intake form, how we think you should like move forward. We started building out an SDR team. If you don't know, SDR is sales development rep. So they're a setter. I'm teaching the setter team, okay, based on here's how you know a lead is good. For instance, if a lead comes into your system and it's a Gmail account, even for you, Cameron, if a lead comes in a Gmail account versus a custom email address, which one do you think is higher quality and willing to spend more money?
The one with the custom.
The custom. Yesterday, a lead came in with a custom domain. Now, I look up our leads all the time because I'm nosy as heck. As a marketer, you need to be as nosy as you can be. And it's kind of big brother, the way we can do it. But you got to be okay with kind of digging into people's data as much as you're allowed to, as much as they allowed and given you. I looked up this custom domain and I found out the person who came into our system was the wife of an agency owner. The way I knew is her last name was the same as the domain. On their site, they've got 2 kids listed. I immediately sent the lead to one of our sales team. Get on the phone now. This person needs help. And I say that about every lead that comes in. So it's not just one. But I'm thinking that person owns a business. They're married to their spouse who own it together. They have a massive reach. They happen to also do ministry work. So there's a reason they're reaching out. I can because they have a custom domain, I can now know so much more information. They've got 2 kids. They live in this state. They probably, based on their site, they make X amount of money. That stuff's important to us, sure, in helping make decisions. But the fact that I knew when they signed up, where they came in, and the fact that their story was public, that's information for us to then go help them. The more we can find out about a person, the more questions we can ask, the more we can get tie downs and start to help them see you need help. Even if your spouse won't help with you, you need the help, and we can be here to help. So you can't be afraid to ask. We don't marketing. Yeah, we ask for money. We do it, but we also ask people to make a choice. Do you want help or not? There's a Instagram post from Brady Shearer, who runs like a church-based Instagram account, and he put out an Instagram post, which I've given to my team, like 5 reasons you should unfollow me. It's a very direct, right? It's a very kind of like, oh, why would a church person put that out? Or why would a marriage helper put that out? I've got one written. People might not want to hear it, but it falls into our core values of courageous compassion. I'm going to be courageous enough to tell you to take action. Because somebody, like, if you're going through a crisis, get help now. Now, if you're going through an abusive situation, if you have medically been diagnosed and aren't seeking treatment, you need to get that help first. Like, please get that help now. If you're in an abusive relationship, call and get help now. If you are diagnosed with a medical condition and are not seeking professional help to get that taken care of, please go seek help. These are the people we can't help today because we don't know how we're going to influence. And we know that our research will only hurt you if not done through the right channels, right? We can't save everyone, unfortunately. I want to save everyone. From the missional side of that, our goal, like I said from the top, is to save 1 million marriages.
Yeah, this is where I'm ready for right here.
Are we okay with seeing are we okay with our success rate going down to save that many? And the answer is probably, to a certain point, right? Traditional counseling has about a 35% success rate if done over 8 months, and it's specific type of counseling and therapy, and I can't repeat it off the top of my head. Not all counselors are bad. Don't hear that. We love marriage counselors. If done right, marriage counseling is an amazing tool for helping a marriage stay healthy and move forward. But we've also heard stories of counselors after one session meeting with clients, oh yeah, you should divorce him. That's not something you're going to hear us say. Yeah, we've also heard pastors in private we've had clients come to us like, I went to my pastor for help and, oh, you should get divorced. You should never get married. One pastor or one counselor said, oh, your Myers-Briggs aren't compatible. What does Myers-Briggs have to do with anything with that? So we're also dealing with people who are speaking into relationships that also need the help themselves. So we're fighting an uphill battle. Well, I heard my counselor tell me this. Okay. They can say whatever they want. They're certified in whatever they do. That doesn't mean they're right. Being a marketer, I love license plates. Being lived in multiple states and multiple countries, I love license plates. I never lived in Missouri. However, Missouri's license plate is the, trust but verify, wait and see. As marketers, that's what we need to do. Okay, now I took this data from my sales team. I've taken it from my clients. I need to verify it myself to a certain percentage. Even clients, sometimes like, here's what I need help with. Okay. Well, tell me about the reason I asked you about your parents. Tell me about your story. Tell me about your experiences. Open up more. What questions can I ask? What content can I put out that will open somebody up enough to let them trust me? There's one other content on how people trust. It's called the Google Zero Theory. I heard this from Ryan Dice last year at a mastermind event and heard it replicated on stage just this last week. It's 7, 11, and 4. If you don't know this, please look it up. I'm not the perfect person. 7 hours, 11 pieces of content in 4 different locations. So it takes somebody 7 hours, 11 different conversations, and 4 different locations to ultimately trust somebody to the fullest amount of trust they can. So for instance, for me and my wife, 7 hours of conversations, that's 7 different dates, an hour long, 11 different conversations over those 7 hours. That's very possible at 4 different locations. That means we met at a coffee shop. We went to Denny's one night. Actually, our first time out, we went to Steak and Shake. That was really funny. Or it was serving together at chapel at college, right? 4 different locations. For a marketer, for me, that is a YouTube video. Now for us, 7 hours is not hard. We have lots of hours of content. 11 different pieces of content, easy. That can be a blog. That can be an email. That could be a podcast, a YouTube video. 4 pieces of content. That's email, or 4 different locations. Email, YouTube, phone conversation, a text message, you name it. We can go over 4. But that combination of 7 hours, 11 different pieces of content in 4 different locations will only help increase the opportunity for somebody to become a lead and ultimately a client work with us. So you ask why we do so much free, why we produce so much content. That's why. Because we don't know what piece is going to trigger somebody to come in. We produced 2 pieces of content recently that actually our sales team were interviewed here in the studio with Kimberly. They just told stories that they heard on the phone. The more we can tell the client stories, people can start seeing themselves in other people's stories that we've been able to help. So stories like a client who literally took a month to come into the workshop. Oh my goodness, this story, and I forgot her first name. I'll butcher it if I try. She was on the phone with our team probably for a month. Her husband agreed to come, or she paid for the workshop, but then she used the wrong credit card, so her husband got upset with her. Whoops, that happens. Yeah, you talk finances, you make sure you use the right card. Then, well, we don't need help. Her husband's like, we don't need the help. We can do it ourselves. Cool. Okay, good luck. We're here whenever you need us. Well, she reaches out again. I do remember her name now. And she's freaking out, absolutely freaking out. Doesn't know how to do it. She wanted to use a different card, but her husband declined it, like got rid of the card. She then found a family member willing to pay it forward, willing to put the investment into their marriage. They came to a workshop recently, and her husband looked at her the first day and said, we should have done this sooner. So sometimes when you believe in something, you have to fight for it. When you believe your marriage is worth it, you have to fight against all odds to make sure it happens. Those are the stories we want to serve and we want to tell. And we're hashtag team you until that happens. Like, we are on our client's team, even if they don't believe in themselves. this
Wait.
last.
Okay, so just to make sure, because see, I'm so caught up in like all the stories. Make sure we keep the people on the marketing side, because I don't want
Yeah,
y'all to think like, oh, this is the because Kimberly gonna come and do the
yeah.
man job.
Kimberly does the so on the marketing side. How can I get feedback? Kimberly will go to a workshop. Hey, I heard this story. For instance, this last weekend, I thought I was stupid for wanting to save a marriage. You know what my next subject line was? Do you think you're stupid? Have you had friends and family members tell you that you're stupid for wanting to save your marriage? Talking exactly how clients are telling us that they've heard.
That's why he's telling y'all the stories, because what he really trying to tell you is all his copy is the stories. He
Yeah.
just switch out the names, make some slight changes, or he'll combine two or three. So I'm just see, I'm keeping y'all focused because if y'all like me, I'm sure y'all seen my face on some of this by now. I'm up here
I,
thinking, hey,
you're down here, so I can't see all your reactions. I think I'd be distracted if I did see it the whole
you
time.
would be distracted, yes.
But you hit the nail on the head. It's exactly that. As a marketer, we have to have our ears to the ground. We are the tip of the spear of a business. People don't know about us or don't know we exist until they see a piece of marketing in front of them. At the tractor dealership, we used to say marketing got people in the door. The sales team made the first sale. It was the service department that kept them, though, service and parts. And that's exactly that. Marketing does a lot of brand awareness, a lot of pushes. You could do very direct, direct style marketing and direct response style, and we do. I love it. I love direct response because I want to call people to action. And I'm using those exact stories straight from the workshop the same week they happen in our email copy, in our social posts, in our video. We do batch record our content, and Jason on my team and Jake, they're phenomenal at figuring out, okay, we're looking ahead a quarter. So, okay, for this next quarter, what content is coming up? So we're recording this in January. Valentine's Day is coming up. We just got rid of Divorce Day. So Valentine's Day is a good and a negative thing for our client, right? Maybe they're in a new relationship or they're starting to get that reconciliation. So they're in a lovey-dovey stage. Or we're hitting somebody who's in an affair, who's having that lovey-dovey, like madly in love affair. Like, oh man, this is really cool. Or we're hitting people in crisis. We just came out of Christmas and New Year's, like a very hurtful time for our clients. So how we talk to our clients in December, January is going to be different than how we call them to action in like June, July, when people are 6 months into their New Year's resolutions that they've forgotten. They need a boost into becoming the best self. And that's really what Kimberly teaches. Or say in around August, the stress of kids going back to school, how I talk to them in August about their kids in school and the stress that adds to a marriage, and really trying to juggle the family life and keeping the core family together while in the midst of a crisis, and how hard that is for them. I'm acknowledging their pain. I'm trying to reach them exactly where they're feeling, even if what they're feeling might be just that, a feeling and just emotion. It may be false, unfortunately, but for them, that feeling is 100% true. And we acknowledge that. Like how they feel is 100% how they feel. I can't control that, but we know how to get them out of that feeling, to feel hopeful again, to feel like they can do that. So marketing has a purpose of talking to their pain and hitting the pain point, but then immediately just slowly scripting it through story and through content of, but it can look like this. You can go from this to this because, hey, check out Jamie's story and how she was able to go from this type of marriage to this type of marriage. Look at
Classic
Kimberly's
case
story.
study right there. I got y'all.
Yeah,
Case study. Keep going.
it's absolutely a case study. In our sense, we don't call them case studies. I think people we have to change the terms a bit based on the industry. You have to meet them where they're at. So we call them success stories, right? That's exactly what they are. If you look up Scott and Ruth reconciliation stories on our YouTube channel, they got married. She got a green card, came to the United States, ended up multiple affairs. The kid, she ended up having somebody else's kid. Scott loved her enough to stay married and want to make it worth. And it took them coming to the workshop, not once, not twice, but 3 separate times for her to realize, oh, he does love me this much. He's willing to invest in our marriage to this level to, oh, I see how he has changed, how he is not controlling, how the things he is doing are actually pulls when I had this exterior pull that's stronger. So reaching people's stories and teaching them our language. As marketers, we tend to talk above our clients and talk above our prospects sometimes. We think they're smart enough to know what we're talking about. So when I talk pushes and pulls, you now have to go look that up. I can tell you the rudimentary, I can tell you what limerence was, But until you understand that, oh, that's the madly in love kind of part of love. Oh, that's what that means. So I have to, in my onboarding sequences, in the initial indoctrination sequences, I have to start teaching them the terminology. And we do this in our content where every time we bring up a term, we do try to reference what it means or another piece of content around that, because we can't explain ourselves every day. But we've put out so much content around training our clients to learn to speak and listen to us a certain way that then they start to trust us. Oh, they're not only asking me for money, they're willing to teach me before I even pay them a cent. They're willing to show me that it's possible without keeping it behind a paywall. Do we
Okay,
have
so
stuff?
the
Do we have stuff
importance
behind a paywall? Yeah.
of education, making sure you're using the right lingo, or being willing to spend extra time to teach them your lingo so that they feel a part of something bigger, the community aspect. Okay.
So one piece of content that we don't do right now, but we're working towards. We were going to do it Monday, but we have to, because of the snow, we have to reduce schedulings for recording. We love call-in shows. We haven't done a call-in show in years, or YouTube Live. Our next YouTube Live, I don't know when that's going to be. We're literally going to just answer chat. We're just going to give back. Joe and Kimberly's time is so valuable to not only them, their families, making sure their families are safe and healthy, because that's important to us, but also to our clients who are, they're asking for the time and they've scheduled the time with us. Kimberly and Dr. Joe and what our team believes in is we are here to serve anybody we can. So putting out that free content and the educational and answering some pretty hard questions, because what we find out, and this is a feedback loop, is when you put out free content, people are going to ask the same questions over and over in a different way. Be willing to say, hey, that actually was answered here, but you have to get over what you think is your question. It's really this question here based on what you've said. So making sure we're educating, right? A good YouTube video is a hook, education, and a call to action. We spend a lot of time in the educational side. Sure, we hook people quickly in the first 30, 40 seconds. Podcast, you can kind of take a little longer of a hook. But then sometimes the call to action is not sign up for this lead magnet, sign up to join us, call us. Sometimes the call to action is, hey, this is really good content, but we actually go to it deeper in this other video series. So go watch that. So we're pointing to more education. People value two things in life: their time and their money. We ask for a lot of time before we ask for any money of people.
Okay. So then, what do you think has been your best investment into the company to date? Now, it can be a thing, it can be we got huge ROI when we did this. What would your answer be as the CMO?
Oh man. And we invested in our sales team. Honestly, like when we look at the numbers of the business, I'm a sales minded marketer. I love sales. I absolutely love what our team gets to do, but we completely turned around the sales team in the last year. We invested in somebody willing to train them and willing to call them to action. So similar how we train our clients, we invested in an agency, a friend of mine from my traffic and funnels days, who was willing to say the hard things our team needs to hear, but also give them a system and a process to follow. That sales team has turned around enough that the focus of the company this year is marketing, because sales team is crushing all what we thought was possible. We thought we could only do 60 workshops in a month selling, right? So we're going to talk some numbers. Our team did 95 last month. One guy is on pace to do 35 this month. It's the 17th of a month. He's already closed 26 deals. As a marketer, I'm not defensive. Like I want to make sure I'm creating content and resources for them to take care of the leads. The more leads I get on the calendar, the more people we're going to end up helping. Marketing can do a lot of the work to get them prepared, but our sales team devotes so much time into that. So our intake specialists in a traditional internet marketing sense, there are closers, right? They're the ones who spend 30 to 45 minutes on a strategy session call to really walk them through the process of what we do. What do you know about us? What do you not know about us? Tell us your story and really hear people out, but also say, hey, we're not coaches or counselors. So if you want to sit on the couch and cry about it, by all means, take up the time and do that. But at the end, can I challenge you? Something our sales team does very well is they ask for permission. So when it comes to investment in the scale of our company, number one thing right now has been the sales team. So Along with that, kind of before the call, we talked about, what people think is possible on themselves, like reaching a certain, they can hit 7 figures on their own. But if they really truly want to make an impact, the number one investment you make is your people. Having the right people in the right seats on the bus. Sometimes the wrong person is, you have the right person on the bus, but they're in the wrong seat. And that happens quite a bit with us because we have people so passionate about the mission that they come in, they join the team in one seat. They're like, oh, but this person, they're not really hitting their numbers in this seat, but they'd be so good over here because they do that part really well. Okay, great. Is it possible? Can we move them to that seat? So people is our number one investment when it comes to just like scaling the business. Do I have favorite tools?
Okay.
Sure. As a marketer, what do we invest in the most? It's software. HubSpot is not cheap. It just is what it is. Or investing in camera gear. I'm using some camera gear, mics. Like we invest in equipment. We've invested in this studio, and we make an investment on YouTube. Like putting out content on YouTube costs us money. We don't, sure, ultimately we'll make our investment back based on how much content we produce, but we lose the day we hit record, right? We're not making money that moment, but it will make us money and it will help people in the long run. So we invest in our gear to make sure that we look better than our
You're
competition.
cheating. You're cheating. That's like five different things. You
Okay,
said
that's fair.
tech, the
Yeah.
team, YouTube. You're supposed to pick one, man, the best.
Okay, the best thing ultimately comes down to people. It comes down
Okay.
to people. That's what it comes down. At the end of the day, if we're not investing in our people, one, we're a relationship company. We have to invest in our people to a certain, like, we got to make sure that they're good and that they have the tools they need to get their job done. So if, say, going to why we invest in equipment, and we're investing in our video editor or our podcast person, our sales team, like in order for them to hit their goals, in order for them to help us help more people, we have to invest in their management system and their solution and the agency that's going to run them or the manager that's going to run them. So Kimberly's investing in me so that I invest in my team. So ultimately, because we're in a relationship business, we have to invest in people first. We can't do this alone. To hit 1 million marriages on our own would take forever. We'd be still doing it
Well,
40, 50 years from now. But if,
I think that was one of my questions. If you're saying we want to save 1 million marriages in 5 to 10 years at scale, you've already talked about the 7-11 4 touch points, right?
Mhm.
How does that happen with a team of, I think you told me 30 people?
30 to 40 people, it means we have to increase our numbers. So currently on my team, I have myself, a marketing technologist, and a podcast video guy. He's my AV specialist. We're currently hiring for SEO specialist. I'm going to put this out publicly because I've also told Kimberly this. Like by the end of the year, I also want 1 or 2 more people on my team because what we do is so important. I need more writers. I need people to write content for us. I need people to be able to focus on email and get that so dialed in that people, the open rates double. You know, investing in the people who know the skill or can be taught the skill is so
Mm-hmm.
important to me. Investing in somebody who can take over social media or investing in people who can help us reach new markets. So, for instance, we're looking at launching another podcast at some point this year. We're making an investment in somebody to create that piece of content, investing in the talent to be on camera, investing in their training to make sure they're saying the right things, their training to make sure they're speaking to the right people in an empathetic tone. We're also investing in people to then publish and edit and release the content and make sure it hits the right eyeballs. Without people, we can't do half of this. Sure, we're in an age of AI. AI can do a lot of things. Do we use AI? Absolutely. I love AI, but I got to be hesitant. And I'm hesitant for this reason. AI doesn't have experience. We're in the relationship space. It doesn't have the experience of going through a marriage crisis. It can read up on people's stories, but it's never
Right.
gonna give the tone or the empathetic. What AI is really good at, for instance, on a podcast, we use Opus, and it's the second tool we've tried, and currently, as of the day, it's phenomenal at scoring itself. So I'm asking AI to score itself, like in finding, but then it's giving us the opportunity to, okay, it's really good, it's close. Okay, we'll download the XML file and go edit it in another program and then make it better. So I'm investing that tool so my video guy can be faster. He can publish more content in the same amount of time, but also not burn himself out. right? I want to make sure my team is not so caught up in the mission that they forget to sleep, that they forget to eat, that they forget to take care of their families. So I have to invest in them to make sure and invest the size of the team to make sure there's crossover. So I'm cross platform trained. I can do most of what my team does. SEO is my downfall, but my marketing technologist can write emails for me. He can create pages for me. I can edit videos if an editor goes down. People are my investment. I want to invest in more people. We have a full office space that it's screaming to fill with people, because the more people we bring in, the more people we'll be able to help. For instance, we're investing in facilitators. Dr. Joe is phenomenal. He doesn't want to do it forever. Like, he wants to help people forever, but he doesn't want to work. He'll joke that Kimberly is his boss. She'll do anything she says. But in order for our longevity, in order for this to go on past his lifetime, we have to train people who can do the research, who can teach the same things, maybe change it up a bit, but can actually take his wisdom and his knowledge and his research to then expand it to more people. So we're looking at opportunities of investing in team members to travel. Okay, can you run a workshop in a different state? So investing in the team to travel out there to do the research. Can we help these people out there? Investing in the team in a way of, hey, this person's really good at this job. Now we need to elevate them to a different position so that they can influence more people. Kimberly at the top, she has 2 direct reports, myself and my colleague Gemma. She takes time out of her day to take care of everyone, though. While, yes, only 2 of us directly report to her, she spends every quarter, she spends at least 10 to 15 minutes with every single person on the team, or has in the past, because she loves people. Her and I both want to invest in people first, because that's what matters. That's why I'm in this business.
Mm. Well,
That was a lot. I told you you could have the time. Totally. So this was fun. This was a lot. Is there anything I need to add clarity to?
uh, I'm so caught up in the sauce. I just, there's so much there. I hope that the audience, you guys can see what he meant by when he gets into a story. He's not just telling it to tell a story as if he's the marriage counselor. He's telling you the story to give you the data so you can put together the data points of, see, we had to get all this story in, which is what's giving us the copy, or because I know what's going on at these different webinars or at the different trainings, this is what's giving me my copy. Or because I know the product so well, or I know what the sales team is going through and struggling through, I know how to retarget my ads, or make sure I'm putting in the right words for the article so it ranks higher on Google when they go to search. That's what I'm hoping that the audience took away from it, because this was a very different style of interview than we've been doing so far in season 2. We pretty much just went all off the top, no script. So
Yeah, you could give me a script. I asked you for talking points. You're like, oh, we're going organically. And that's what I love.
that's what we did. And so, like I said, I got a lot from it. I think for me, being in professional services, it's more so making sure you're using the phrases that your client would use. Like I just keep going back to, like, I love them but not in love with them, or can one spouse, like, we know those are very specific questions that only your target market is going to ask. And that you've done the research, you continue to research. I love that part. Not just being okay with, well, we're in home services, because that's a popular niche for a lot of agencies. Well, don't just be okay with, we're in home services, but spending the time to dig, learn what they do. Because I know that we do that as an accounting firm. Like, we go to Funnel Hacking Live, we've gone to Traffic and Conversions, we've gone to the GHL Level Up Conference for that exact reason. And it does end up setting you apart because you can go a lot deeper. So, with all that being said, we're going to wrap up. Tell the people, if they want to connect with you, or maybe they want to apply, or maybe they, most importantly, need the resources or need the help, where do they go? Like, what social media platforms, or what's the official YouTube channel or the podcast? How can they get in contact with you or Kimberly if they want you guys to speak, and whatever else you want to throw in there?
So to find Marriage Helper on social media, we are at Marriage Helper on all channels. So that's youtube.com/marriage helper. That's where we publish all of our videos. All of our podcasts are there. Facebook at Marriage Helper, Instagram at Marriage Helper, TikTok at Marriage Helper. TikTok's a fun one. It's not, yeah, TikTok is there to get reach, brand awareness, more people we know. I love TikTok. It's addicting, unfortunately. If you wanted to find our podcast, so wherever you find podcasts, look up Relationship Radio. Dr. Joe Beam and Kimberly talk about relationship radio, relationship issues and marriage crisis issues, not only crisis, but enrichment stuff every week. Like that drops every Wednesday at midnight Wednesday. Wow, that was a terrible, I'm a marketer. I'm terrible at selling my own podcast. So if you're wanting to find us on our podcast platforms, search Relationship Radio on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you're wanting to learn how to become your best self, I highly recommend Kimberly's podcast. It Starts with Attraction. It can be found the same way, either on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you do. Also, her YouTube channel, where we've been growing an audience there. So all of our podcasts are recorded here in this studio. It's fantastic. So find her at youtube.com/@KimberlyBeamHomes. She is at Kimberly Beam Homes on Instagram. If you want to follow me, I don't post a lot, but I'm at PHLP Stewart on Instagram. My last post was literally a post about business, about this. So if you want to get into the data of that, you can hit me up there. If you want resources and you want help, if you need help in your marriage, or you want to connect with me or Kimberly for speaking engagement, please go to marriagehelper.com/Phil. That's marriagehelper.com/PHIL. You can find everything there.
All right, Marriage Helper is the key. It starts with attraction and relationship radio. Those are your main things, and of course, Kimberly Beam Homes.
If you forget all of that, I'll make sure it's all on that page at marriagehelper.com/Phil.
There you go. And of course, we'll drop the link in here so you'll be able to see that and click that in the description. Backlink.
There you go.
All right.
Backlink.
So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. I think, you know what, Phil? You have the honor of now being the longest podcast episode we've ever had.
Let's
But I think
go.
it just organically, like, we got caught up in the sauce.
I think I should also apologize for whoever has to edit this. So I'm sorry.
Well, part of that's gonna be me because I gotta pick your clips.
That's true. You could use AI to do that.
We do, but you still gotta pick which AI clips you're gonna use.
Yeah, I know.
And some of them it's like, let's move it to this part of this clip, and yeah. All right. Well, it's been fun, guys. I told you, season 2, we're not playing. You had somebody who is the CMO of a multi-million-dollar company that has strongly mission-based and mission-focused. And they're telling you with passion how they help get more people to their message, how they get their message out, how they're at the top of funnel. We're not here just when you're divorced. We're starting when the thoughts are starting to enter the mind. What are the phrases they're thinking about? What are some of the questions they would ask? What kind of resource would they look up to try to find? We want to be right there. They already know who their competition is. They know, hey, we got to beat the divorce lawyer. We're trying to not get them to be divorced. So we got to make sure if the divorce lawyer is showing up, we got to be right in there too. So being aware of the competition, aware of your ICA, their problems, their pains, what they want, what would they ask, search for, look for. Then, do we have anything there? It's not just good to do one piece of content or 3 articles, but we want to make sure there are plenty of resources, plenty of content, videos. We are hitting them on the email. We're hitting them on different platforms. We're diversified. So that way, if Facebook shut down, well, we got Google and YouTube. If YouTube, which we doubt is ever going to get shut down, it's fine. We still have Google, and so there are so many different things that I hope you guys were able to put together. I didn't want to stop him because he was in his flow. You know, he was in his thing, man. He was in his groove. So I didn't want to stop him, but I'm just hoping that y'all caught it all. Please, I know it's a long episode, but this is one that you send to your buddies that are other agencies. If you married, there's still some good stuff in there anyway about especially push pull and about those different processes, so you can still get some stuff out of it from there. Tag somebody, share it. Phil, any last words before we let you go?
The number one thing, especially if you're an agency owner looking to grow, don't give up, and there is always hope.
There's always hope. All right, y'all. Stay safe. Take care of yourself. And until the next episode, take care of yourselves. Peace.